Jujutsu Kaisen has a chance to become one of those anime. I'm talking about one of the legendary anime that gets talked about time and time again, long after it's done airing and long after the manga has concluded. Now, I know a lot of people are going to be saying, Jujutsu Kaisen is already popular. Jujutsu Kaisen is already on top of the world. How much further can it go? And yes, it has longevity, but we've seen time and time again that a lot of manga have this popularity and have this hype, and then they fall off. To name a few, Black Clover and My Hero, they were on top of the world. Cosplayers were losing their minds over these shows, and now Deku and Asta are jokes, and I don't even think Asta is in Weekly Shonen Jump anymore. And then we can see what happened to the Naruto brand. Now, albeit that's a little different because of Boruto, but we're gonna get back to why that's more important later. But Jujutsu Kaisen has a chance to become one of the biggest anime of all time and be talked about way after it's done airing. Now, I need to just get this out of the way now. I am an anime only. Yes, an anime only. I do know about that manga spoiler, so give me a break with some of my comparisons because it's gonna be strictly for anime.
You idiot. You're honestly an idiot. I don't know what's wrong with you.
So Jujutsu Kaisen does things very different from a lot of other shows while at the same time doing them all the same, and that is in part what makes it so great. So right now, Jujutsu Kaisen's main competitors are of course the only one of the old guard is really just One Piece, and in terms of modern shows coming out, it often is gonna get compared to Chainsaw Man, Demon Slayer, Hell's Paradise, and all of the big new shonen coming out. But honestly, Jujutsu Kaisen and Demon Slayer really do stand on a pedestal of its own in the animation department, and Chainsaw Man is way more of a competitor on the manga side. Obviously, only one season there for Chainsaw Man, but in terms of the Demon Slayer versus Jujutsu Kaisen debate, it is huge, and honestly, I think it drives competition to both of them because a lot of people are really polarized on one side or the other. Demon Slayer, the peak of animation, the absolute definition of artistic choice and animation style, as well as the fact that it's a simple narrative that hits on the big moments time and time again and really moves into a simple power system, simple villains, but also somehow making it an experience in itself. And Jujutsu Kaisen is the opposite of that. Jujutsu Kaisen has this crazy power system. I had to rewatch the first episode like 4 times before I understood how it worked, as well as the fact that you have complex characters, a complex narrative. Sometimes stuff is happening in Jujutsu Kaisen, you don't even know what's going on. You're confused, like why is Geto here but Geto's dead, but Geto's here but Geto has stitches, and then Toji is back, Toji is dead. Jujutsu Kaisen just knows how to write a complex narrative, and of course you can't talk about Jujutsu Kaisen without talking about Mappa. Mappa has been the king of everything for the past 5 years. Hell's Paradise looks absolutely beautiful. Jujutsu Kaisen, they're taking liberties and liberties time and time again with the manga and actually delivering. In the most recent episode that has come out at the point of me recording this, apparently the scene where Nanami grabs this guy by the head that kills our boy, that kills the butler, the way they animated him, you might even think it's CGI. It literally compares to that of the Gear 5 animation, how cold they make Nanami look. Nanami looked like an absolute monster, a rabid animal, and that was all Mappa's doing. A lot of people are criticizing Mappa, particularly because there's something of a Mappa effect. Everything is starting to look a little bit samey, and honestly, the only thing I really would criticize from it is Attack on Titan, because the wit animation style for Attack on Titan is just beautiful, but at the same time, I think you could argue the Mappa style fits a lot more of what Attack on Titan season 4, 5, 6, whatever, finals, whatever you want to classify Attack on Titan is. Mappa still is doing it justice. To have like almost a peak of animation compared to artistic style is really interesting dichotomy between those two. Now, I don't know much about animation, so I don't want to embarrass myself too much, but I think you can see that they're different styles, but at the same time, they're the peak of each style, if that makes sense. The competition between those two is just driving people. Everyone's going crazy arguing which is better. Like, oh, Jujutsu Kaisen fans are like, Demon Slayer is bubble anime, it's so generic. And then everyone's like, oh, no one wants to watch a complex story where you don't even know the main character is. Honestly, I think most of us are in the third category. You're sitting there watching both, eating both, enjoying both. Those two are the ones that really have a chance of this generation to becoming the next big legendary anime. And the reason I think Jujutsu Kaisen really has a chance is honestly because of Boruto. I know, right? Hear me out. Because of Boruto. Boruto is so unbelievably dog shit that I think it's given Jujutsu Kaisen a chance, because Naruto obviously consumed a huge part of the anime community. A lot of fans, including myself, started off really only watching Naruto before you watch anything else, and I think a lot of people were upset when Naruto ended, thinking, oh, we have Boruto, at least it's gonna be somewhat similar. Jujutsu Kaisen is more similar to Naruto than Boruto is, and I don't mean that in a bad way. You have the same aspects of Naruto that made it good, and you will also have those aspects in Jujutsu Kaisen Kaisen. And Naruto fans that are watching Boruto, you can almost gaslight yourself into thinking it's just as good. But honestly, even if you do genuinely think it's good, it's a completely different story structure than that of Naruto. And Jujutsu Kaisen is a very similar structure. You have Kurama with Sukuna. You have Kakashi and Gojo. And Gojo is different enough from Kakashi in terms of power, in terms of structure of the show. But at the same time, him being that strong on a different level than Kakashi makes it different enough. His personality is what people really mean. And honestly, it's somewhat similar vibes in a sense. And he's just a cool, interesting character. And you have the dynamic. You have a useful Sakura. And you have a Sasuke that's not overly moody. Itadori to Naruto is somewhat similar. But Itadori is going to be one of the negatives that a lot of people point towards Jujutsu Kaisen. I'll get into that later. The dynamic between the four of them is so much Naruto vibes, as well as something else I'll go into more later. All of the characters in Jujutsu Kaisen remind me so much of what it was like to watch Naruto in terms of having Shikamaru, Lee, Guy, Third Hokage, all of these other relevant characters that aren't the main four. It makes it really interesting. Now, at times, you might wish you had more development of like a Nobara, a Megumi, and Itadori, but at the same time, you're like, all these other characters are somehow equally as interesting. Now, to get into what Jujutsu Kaisen really does to make it special is the fact that Jujutsu Kaisen takes so much risk. Season 1 is essentially a compilation, I feel, of like 4 or 5 mini arcs. I feel like that's a safe statement to say, and honestly, every one of them was more and more different. Starting off, they quickly established that Gojo is this godlike being. You also have to somewhat adhere to these elders, and you don't really understand it, and honestly, even at this point in watching, I don't really understand the elders part, because if Gojo is literally God, he can do what he wants, and I think that's what they're trying to represent. At the same time, I think the moment that you really realize that Jujutsu Kaisen is different is when they went to the Junovale detention, and you realize that Itadori and Megumi are so far beneath everyone else, as well as the fact that Jujutsu Kaisen is respecting its power system no matter what. They establish that those three are not that strong, and they immediately have them fighting against one of the top ranked curses in the whole world, and they get absolutely dog washed. They get the shit beat out of them. They literally kill Itadori in a sense and have him give his body over to Sukuna to even win the fight, and you realize that they're really not scared to show that Itadori has so much more to go and put them in near-death situations. And then they follow this up with the Mahito arc, where he killed Shunpei right in front of Itadori, and you realize that Jujutsu Kaisen is real. This is a real story. There's a chance that characters will be killed off, and a lot of them. And having Mahito, this Joker-esque personality villain, kill one of Itadori's friends right in front of him in this grueling fashion, where he's not just dead, he's in this form where he's basically a transformed curse, and he can't do anything about it, and he's just sitting there, and Itadori has no choice but to accept the fact that he's gonna die. That was real. That was crazy. That was insane. That's one of the best executions of stakes in a story, because obviously you don't want to kill off a key supporting character that's gonna come back later. You don't want to do that too rushed. You want that to be built up and executed, and they did it perfectly by inserting Junpei, this lonely character, into the story for Itadori to light up. All of the shonen characters that are all warm and fluffy and make all these characters feel moved, they have Itadori do that to Junpei, only to brutally kill him, and you're sitting there like, oh my goodness, what just happened? There's no way that they're not going to bring back Junpei. There's no way they're going to have our main character fail. Jujutsu Kaisen is going to do that time and time again. And then later on, they go and double down on the world and having it so the Kyoto school is working to kill Itadori because they're on the side of the elders, that they don't feel that Itadori should be alive because of the fact that he has Sukuna in him and they don't want to risk having that vessel. That's another layer of depth in this world, that even though that everyone is fighting against curses and they're all Jujutsu sorcerers, that doesn't necessarily mean that the sorcerers aren't going to fight amongst themselves, and that there's not inner drama within them too. That shows a level of depth in world and characters and story design. You're not going to just have this simple narrative where it's demon slayers hunting demons. No, Jujutsu sorcerers, even though they're hunting curses, they're fighting amongst themselves because they're all strong enough to be a force in the world in their own right and in their own way. And that's what that arc really did for me. And then in between this, we got Jujutsu Kaisen 0. That was the initial theory behind JJK, an entirely new set of characters that were equally as interesting, with Yuta, Maki, and Panda. You know, the other guy that speaks in like ingredients. He's really cool though. I really like him. And you get to see Geto really in action, but he seems different. He seems younger. Gojo has the white bands. Jujutsu Kaisen 0 tells an almost equally as compelling story, and it's not crazy to say that a lot of people wish that they were the main cast because of how interesting it was with Yuta and Rika, and as well as the fact Yuta is an extremely unique protagonist for a story and very different from typical shonen. And then honestly, you're sitting there like, wait, Geto is dead, but Geto's not dead, but Geto is dead, and it's just hype. We're gonna jump to season 2, and season 2 has been, oh my god, like, oh my god. I have never been more excited to watch anything every week than I have for Jujutsu Kaisen Season 2. Starting off, you have young Gojo, young Geto. They're good. They have to protect this girl. And then all of a sudden, you realize Gojo is him. Gojo has always been him. I swear to God, Mappa discovered new shades of blue for this arc. The scenes on the beach, the scenes with Gojo's eyes, absolutely stunning. And you're sitting there like, oh my God, wait, who can touch Gojo? Even in this state, even though he's weaker, who can really beat him? And then you're like, wait, Toji is the Black Air Force energy of the anime world. Toji does not care about your eyes. Toji will kill you no matter what. Then you're sitting there like, maybe he won't actually kill you no matter what, because it's Gojo and Geto. How could they die? And then it's like, nope, Gojo is dead. No way is Gojo dead. Gojo literally has a knife in his neck. And then you're sitting there and they're like, oh my God, their whole mission was to defend this girl, and she just gets shot. She gets shot and freeze. She literally just gets shot just like that. They don't care. She does not come back. She is dead. And it's just like, what? And then you're like, Geto, somehow he just survives Toji. And then Gojo comes back and Gojo is alive. And this is where you realize Gojo has elevated from the best Jujutsu sorcerer to a sorcerer on another level. And he rips apart Toji in this insane scene. He looks crazy. He looks out of his mind. He looks like he doesn't even know what's going on. And that's what Jujutsu Kaisen does so well of displaying emotion. They do this all throughout Season 2. They do this all throughout Season 1, which is showing you that these characters can get insane. And then you get to the deep thematic part of Season 2, where both Gojo and Geto don't understand what's going on, because they're all celebrating the death of this girl in this cult. They're all celebrating the death of this girl, and Gojo is sitting there like, why don't we just kill them all? Why don't we just rule this world? Why do we adhere to these humans? At this point, that's when Geto flips, and he's sitting there like, oh my God, like, why are we doing this? What is the actual point? What is the end to this? Why are we here? Who are we defending? Why are these humans even worth our time? Once the inception of that question gets in his mind, you see it rots at him, and it drives him crazy, and he doesn't even understand who he is anymore. I don't know if his friend dying was supposed to be portrayed as the big thing that pushes him over. I interpreted it more so as the straw that broke the camel's back. The way they displayed Geto just losing his mind, I mean, look at this scene as him in the shower. This boy is going through it, and you really understand what you're meant to feel when you see Geto like that, and it feels completely natural for him to do that in this way, and they executed on it perfectly while having Gojo flip-flop too. Shibuya, everyone is trapped in Shibuya. Gojo is there. Gojo is him. Gojo pulls up, saves all these people. He's working times 10. You actually see Gojo push to his limits for once, and then he gets sealed. And then you're just like, what is going on? And then all of a sudden, Itadori's out here fighting this inverse guy. And now Toji's back, and Nanami is just insane. Nanami's out of his mind, and you're like, Nova's sitting there throwing hands too. Megumi is throwing hands. What is this about to be? There's so many characters, there's so many character arcs, there's so many storylines. It's just been peak, and honestly, Mappa has made this look incredible, as well as the fact that the source material is really just that good. So what Jujutsu Kaisen does that makes it so special, it has all these characters and all these aspects to it that are equally as interesting as the thing before it. When you're watching one of the characters, you're not sitting there watching one character thinking, oh my God, when are we going to get back to Itadori? And now a lot of people look at that as a negative, like Itadori isn't that interesting. Itadori's motivation doesn't push him that far. But honestly, I disagree. Itadori is a fascinating character, and yes, sometimes his personality makes it hard to understand the stakes of the story. Like when Gojo's sealed, he's not really freaking out. But at the same time, I feel like it's made him unique, and there was a point where I really criticized this, but I think in Shibuya, I've really flipped on Itadori. I know him versus Mahito is about to be a legendary fight, and honestly, Itadori is not the peak of Jujutsu Kaisen, but what is the peak is all of the characters and the world they're living in. And Jujutsu Kaisen being a realistic world, you're literally in Tokyo, and it's just there with sorcerers and curses, makes it extremely interesting, and seeing these characters interact in this world is equally as interesting, and that's why I think it has the longevity I think it'll have, because there's someone to latch onto, there's someone to relate to, and it almost is like Naruto meets One Piece in the sense of you have like a Naruto-esque world, Naruto-esque storyline and structure, but you have One Piece level characters and depth that are getting the attention that One Piece gives these characters, even though it's a seasonal, and no scene is wasted, and you feel just as connected to these characters as you would any of the Straw Hats, or as you would any of the cast of Naruto, and it just makes you feel something. Jujutsu Kaisen is the peak of anime right now, because it makes you get that feeling of being like, oh my God, I need to go watch right now. I need to go see what's gonna happen next. I just want to be immersed in this world and understand everything there is about it, and just be blown away time and time again, because you know as soon as you click play on Jujutsu Kaisen, 20 minutes is gonna go by like that, and you're gonna be sitting there actually wanting to watch a preview for the next episode, because you don't want to look away, you don't want to step out of this world. And that's what Jujutsu Kaisen has done so well, and that's why I think Jujutsu Kaisen has the chance to be one of the best anime of all time, because it knows how to deliver on the big moments, it knows how to deliver on the funny moments, it knows how to deliver on the characters, the world, the fights, and Mappa has painted the beautiful story that is JJK on this canvas that is stunning animation, that takes risks, that doesn't care what the norm is doing, and does whatever it wants, because it knows that it is the peak of what what anime has to offer. So with that being said, if you want to watch more of my content, watch this video on if you should watch One Piece. And also, if you enjoyed this video, leave a like, subscribe, and don't forget, we're just getting started, we're gonna stay consistent, and I'll see you in the next video.